8 years ago, South Central Minnesota, like many communities, faced a dire need for certified welders. While others wondered what could be done, one teacher went to work. Bob Bonin started by approaching manufacturing companies to ask them to sponsor welding booths at Fairmont High School. Through his efforts, the high school grew from 4 to 20 welding booths, and he started expanding the program. The results is a new Welding Academy that serves middle and high school students across the region. Fairmont High School offers 3 levels of welding during the traditional school year and college in the school's welding class through Riverland Community College. 8th grade students taking STEM classes also have access to the program through virtual welders. Students and adults across the region gain access to Welding Academy through Saturday and summer classes. Please join me in recognizing Bob Bonin as a 2018 MREA Educator of Excellence for helping meet workforce and develop skilled workers in his community and beyond. Bob.
Well, it's kind of tough to follow the people that have been up here already. One of the challenges I had before I came up here was my superintendent challenged me to make him cry after he heard the story of the aces. All right, Joe, here you go, I quit. For those of you that those tears of joy. All right. For those of you that know Joe, you'll understand that one. I would like to thank the MREA as well. It's an honor to be up here. It could have been anybody in our district. I thank Joe for nominating me for that. But so thank you very much, Joe. And a lot of thanks goes to our school board, and as well as my administrator, Andy Trado, back there. It's because of those guys that I'm able to stand up here and actually talk with you guys tonight. I would also like to thank my parents. My father was a second-generation welder himself. My grandfather was a welder at the old year-round tractor cab company down in the Sherburne-Welcome area. So I would be a third-generation welding person, professional, I would like to say, but they tell me different. And I have a son that's a 4th generation welder, and I'm extremely proud of that accomplishment. I'll visit with that in a minute, but I'd like to thank my parents for making me who I am today, and my siblings. I have 2 sisters and a brother that kind of helped shape who I am. They would tell you that they kept me grounded. I'd also like to thank my better half, who's here this evening with us, and Kate is a counselor at United South Central School, and she's the one that kind of kept my feet to the fire to be able to be where we are today. When I started my educational path, I actually was in the elementary world. I was an elementary educator. I taught the 6th grade, and I was kind of floating through there, I wanted to be a teacher, but I don't know that was really where I was going to end up. And I was in master's classes through St. Mary's, and I was going over to Jackson High School to take those classes, and actually my administrator, Andrew Trado, was in the same cohort as I was. And he could tell you firsthand that first year I was still in elementary, kind of probably didn't have my heart in education anymore. I had been there for about a dozen years, and I didn't know if that was quite it. And then I got an opportunity to go to the high school and actually teach in an area that I had experience in. Before I went into education, I had spent 15 years in the workforce. And so I had an opportunity to go out to the high school and actually get into the career and tech ed department, where I found my passion. And we've heard passion a few times tonight, but it's passion that has me standing right here. And so I'd like to thank Kate for keeping my toes to the grindstone, because I had to go through those things we talked about, which was changing my licensure. I was fortunate enough to catch the very end of the University of Minnesota's program, where I was doing the kind of the hybrid classes where I did the core classes, but yet was doing the portfolio process. It closed, as did Bemidji had closed right before that, so I was kind of under that gun of, am I going to get my license in time? So for all those districts that are going through that right now, I empathize with you guys very much because it's not an easy transition. But it's even harder for a person that has a little bit of ADHD to do those online classes, and you're responsible to do that stuff, and so I have to thank her for that. So, I'd like to talk a little bit about my program. As any school that has quality school boards, quality administrators, there's good programming. And they provide the opportunity for people with that passion to come in and excel. One of the things that I really like about my administrator, he's always asking what's next. If you've done that well, what's the next step? They don't let us rest, which is good. For the fellow educators, you know what I mean. If you get a little bit more relaxed in your practice, sometimes you get a little bit sloppy and kind of, get, for better terms, I guess, it just keeps you fresh. But I have some awesome students that I want to share with you tonight. The first student I want to talk about graduated about 4 years ago, and he was through my welding program, and it was prior to us having our college in the schools classroom. He had been there when we were kind of starting to build the program, but he graduated from high school and was working 2 part-time jobs, kind of trying to make ends meet. He thought about going off to school, but didn't know what he was going to go for, so he took that year off. And so the gap year, like we like to call it, and his gap year consisted of working at Taco John's and at one of our mental health care places. And a local manufacturer came to the school and visited with us, and we talked to them about how do we better support their needs for welders and stuff. And so gave them his name, and he went on to work for them basically with his high school education in the welding department. And 4 years later, he is now a trainer with that same company. So that was the first student that really kind of opened my eyes. The second student I want to talk about was a fun student. Had him for 4 years. Every class I took, he jumped into, very successful. He was that kid that, if you're a coach, he's that natural athlete. You just kind of stay out of their way and let them perform. Well, that's what he was, and to the point that he actually went with us last year to the state legislation when we testified on the House File 309, correct? 3190. And just got to watch him really kind of in his own element. And it was fun because we kind of planted a seed that, Adam, someday you'd be a pretty good teacher. And he went off to a summer internship with Wadetronics, a great welder. They actually loved him there. They wanted to pay for his schooling. He is going up to Alexandria Technical College. He came back and visited us last Friday, and he's the top student in his class. And just kind of was needling him a little bit on Friday, and I said, are you still thinking about being a teacher someday? And he said, yes, that's my plan. He wants to do the 2 years of school and then look at the 2+2. So his joke to me is always, I want to come back when you retire. And I said, don't wish it too quick. The last student I want to talk about is a current senior. And I've watched him for the last couple of years at our high school, and he's kind of one of those kids that just gets by. And I just found out about a week ago, he pretty much struggled coming back to school his senior year. Administration had met with him prior to starting the school year, was not planning on enrolling again, really hadn't found his niche in the high school and where he was going to be in life. Fortunately for us, he did enroll. He took my intro to welding class, and he's one of those kids that's just a natural. He didn't know it, but he got into the class. He did the required safety work that we do, got him into the class. He's a left-handed person. For those of you that know anything about left-handed people, when they write towards themselves, which is a natural skill in welding, because you're in the production style welding, you're pushing the weld towards you, and the eye-hand coordination is extremely important. And when a left-handed person, that's a natural. Well, he's a left-handed person, and came into the shop, and all of a sudden he discovered he was good at something. And all of a sudden I started to see smiles on his face when he was in the welding booths. And I'd stop by and say, are you sure you haven't done this before? And kind of give him some praise that he earned. It wasn't just something I was throwing out there at him. And we've gone from a student that did not think he was going to enroll to he's already planned his second semester in my college in the schools class. And so those are the reasons that I'm up here. It's my passion to touch students' lives, not necessarily in my class, but just to touch them to the point where they're going to do something beyond high school. I have the tools because of my school. I can stand up here and tell you all the wonderful things that we've done. We went from that 4 welding booths about 6 years ago, Joe, to where we are now with 20. My administration is the reason behind that. They're the ones that provide us with those tools to be successful. We get to come in and do what we're excited and passionate about. That's why I'm here today. My passion is alive because of good administration. It could have been any one of my colleagues up here tonight talking to you, because our school district inspires us to be the best. And so that's really the only thing I can say is thank you guys for providing us with the opportunity to provide passion to our students.